Welcome to 2026, and this is the first step-by-step video for this year. Now, if you saw my Welcome to 2026 video, you know that the credit bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, are now ignoring letters that are being sent as disputes to get items removed. In my prior video, I released how I deleted 23 items in 60 days. At the end of that video, I told you I was having difficulty with TransUnion. So now I'm going to take you step by step on how do you first move into your credit repair and what steps you need to take to make sure you can get your items removed. The first step is to get a copy of your credit report from Innovis, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. You can go directly to their website, register, and once you register, you can get a free copy of your credit report. Next, after you get a free copy of your credit report, you can also get it at annualreport.com, but I recommend you get it from the credit bureaus because it'll help you in the next step that we're going to talk about a little bit later. But next, I want you to go to Lexus Nexus and request a copy of your credit report. Once you have all 5 copies, I need you to then place a security freeze on Lexus Nexus, Innovis, SageStream, and ARS, Advanced Resolution Systems. Once you have your security freeze placed on all of those secondary credit bureaus, you need to then review your credit report and see what items that you need to get removed so you can have a better credit score. You're going to identify those items, whether it be a charge-off, collection, late payment, student loan. Once you have them all identified, you're going to break them into categories. So all your charge-offs in one category, all your hard inquiries in one category, collections, late payments, everything separated by category based upon how it is being reported. And I'm going to tell you up front, once you have that done, that way you'll know exactly how you're going to create your credit strategy for attack. Next, before you do anything else, you're going to go to each of those credit bureau websites and delete old addresses, old personal information. If a misspelling of your name, your social security number, you can actually do it. Once you register with that credit bureau, you can go online and dispute it directly on their portal. Many times the items will come off within 24 hours. Now, in some cases, if an item doesn't come off, you're going to create a dispute letter. Once you create that dispute letter, you're going to actually upload that dispute letter directly into the credit bureau's website. And it's going to list all of the items that you are disputing, from your address, birth date, anything that is incorrect, and you're going to attach a copy of your social security card, a utility bill, and your driver's license. And you're going to attach all of those, upload it directly into the credit bureau's website, and those items that you're disputing should disappear within typically 2 to 5 business days. If it's not off on the 5th business day, that's when you call to find out where's the dispute process and if they need any more information. I'll tell you up front, if you moved within the past few months and you have a new address that is different from the address being reported by the credit bureau, you're going to have to supply a copy of that lease or utility bill with that address. Once each one of those items have been deleted, old addresses, old phone numbers, and any incorrect personal information, that's when you create your dispute letters. Remember, a dispute letter should only contain items from one category, meaning if you're disputing hard inquiries need to be on one letter, charge-offs on another, collections on another. The reason being, hard inquiries are easy to remove, and typically credit bureaus will remove those without contacting the actual lender or whoever made the inquiry. Charge-offs, collections, and late payments, they're going to contact, or they're supposed to contact, that actual lender. So you don't want to mix them up. You want to separate them, because if you do start using USC codes, there are going to be different codes for different categories. Once you have successfully gotten your addresses and everything removed, your first letter to the credit bureau can be handwritten. It doesn't have to be fully loaded with a USC code, and honestly, it shouldn't be. USC codes should be used once a violation is identified, not before. So meaning, if you're going to use 156081, you want the credit bureaus to violate your consumer rights by showing you they haven't investigated. So once after 30 days, you get a letter stating your account is verified, that's when you can start using USC codes. But there's a trick. I don't recommend you submitting a dispute letter with the USC code. Actually, keep using handwritten letters and save your USC codes for when you submit it via a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, a CFPB complaint, not beforehand. Because many times people will submit these before. You want to actually put your USC code in a CFPB complaint. The reason being, the CFPB is the regulatory agency that governs credit bureaus. Once you submit it through the CFP portal and identify the violation, the credit bureaus have to actually respond and apply the USC code. So if you say 605B, which is to block any items reporting on your credit report that resulted from identity theft, that is the place to send it, because the CFPB is the regulatory body, and when you submit it that way, that goes directly to the credit bureau's legal department, the place it should go. Now, once you have created your handwritten letters, you got everything together, your first letter that you send to the credit bureau needs to be sent certified mail with a signature card. So you have not only confirmation of receipt, you actually have the person who signed for it. And once you have that, that allows you, when the credit bureaus don't investigate, or you feel they haven't investigated your dispute, and as we know, they've all been successfully sued by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, they typically do not investigate the disputes. That means you have legal leverage upon your escalation to say, hey, I notified you, this is the person who signed it, and I've also submitted this information directly to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau in the first round. Previously, I said don't submit a CFPB complaint until the second round. Now, when you submit your first round of disputes, as soon as that dispute arrives and you have confirmation that it has arrived, go directly into the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, upload a copy of the letter, a copy of the confirmation of receipt, and that signature. Once you upload the letter In the first round, you don't use USC codes. You're just stating you are disputing this item because you don't believe it's accurate, and the desired resolution is for it to be deleted. That's all you have to say. Now, once you submit the CFPB complaint, you have legal proof and government record of a recording that the credit bureaus were not only notified, but you notified them via mail, which is required by the Fair Credit Reporting Act. You also gave them a copy and notified the government. After you submit your CFPB complaint, you then go directly to the credit bureau's website. And this is in the first round. Upload a copy of the complaint letter that you submitted. You print out a copy of the CFPB complaint and you upload that directly into the credit bureau's portal with your complaint letter, your CFPB complaint, and confirmation of receipt of your dispute. You do this in the first round. Once you do all of that, wait 30 days. And after the 30th day, go directly into your CFP portal to see if they responded. This is typically where you're going to get your first round of ammunition that I'll talk about in a future video. What round of ammunition are you receiving? They typically state that they're still working on your issue, and at the bottom, it'll say they'll respond within 60 days. Technically, they have just violated your consumer rights because when you filed your CFPB complaint, you provided a copy and a confirmation of receipt of the initial filing that you sent via mail. That means they should respond within 30 days, not 60 days. That's why I state, submit your complaint to the CFPB in the first round. Now, once you submit your complaints, you're going to wait the 30 days and you're going to look directly at the CFPB portal. And you're going to constantly check your mail, not your physical mail, your email, because once you register your account with each credit bureau, they'll start notifying you of results via email. Now, they are supposed to notify you also via mail, but many times they will notify you multiple times via email and one time by physical letter. When you submit your disputes, be very careful, because in my initial video, Welcome Everybody to 2026, I stated what? Many of the lenders are Metro 2 compliant. Credit card companies, car lenders, debt collectors like LVNB. What does Metro 2 compliant mean? That means soon as the dispute is received at the credit bureau will then notify that debt collector, that bank, that credit card company. Once those companies are notified, and if you hadn't heard from them in a few months, and now they start to calling your phone, do not answer. Answering the phone will then verify the account and make it harder to remove, because then they'll respond to the credit bureaus and tell the credit bureau, I spoke to such and such. This account is a valid account, is reporting accurately. This is particularly very important for any Metro 2 compliant company. And when I say there are a lot of them now, previously there were like 2 American Express and a few others. Now there's LVNV, there's Santander, there's Credit One, Capital One, First Savings, National Bank, Navy Federal. So there are more Metro 2 compliant companies, meaning they want their money. So if you file and you start getting a lot of phone calls from the credit bureaus or the credit companies, not the credit bureaus, be aware, answering the telephone will verify the account. It'll make it harder to remove. And then you might end up getting a lawsuit. That's why I'm telling you, don't use USC codes via mail. Use it in your CFPB complaint, because that means it's going directly towards the credit bureau and not your creditor. Because when it goes towards the creditor, the method of verification becomes very important. So the creditor will try to verify that account by reaching out to you by phone and not by mail, because they know you might not pick up the mail, you might not open the email, but if they have your voice recorded, that is all they need to verify the account. My next video, I'm going to be very specific and tell you what responses to look out for in your first round, because it's 2026. I'm gonna be honest, you're gonna have to work to get items removed. Do not believe anybody telling you this one system they have or heard of or one method will remove everything. It will not. And it definitely not gonna remove nothing in no few days. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the CFPB, staff has been cut. So anybody stating that submit a CFPB complaint and in 4 days something's coming out, no, it's not. The CFPB currently, as soon as you submit a complaint, they're forwarding that complaint directly to the credit bureau with no review or oversight, meaning they're not forcing the credit bureau to do anything until you have enough evidence and proof. If you have any questions, make sure to leave one on my video. Make sure to subscribe and share this video however feels good to you, because I've noticed people like to share it. Share my videos. Welcome to $10 Credit Repair, where you get real credit repair advice from a former bank underwriter. And I'm going to take you step by step on how to get everything addressed on your credit, and you don't have to buy a thing. Thank you.